No Film School's coverage of NAB is brought to you by Shutterstock, your source for stunning HD and 4K footage, plus high-quality music. Blackmagic Design, amazing solutions for film, post-production, and television. My Road Reel, the world's largest short film competition, is back.
Hey guys, this is Andy Zoe with No Film School. We're here talking with Doug, who's the VariCam specialist at Panasonic. Doug, what can you tell us about the VariCam LT and its uses for independent filmmaking?
All right, well, firstly, thanks for asking me, and thanks for coming on the show, and I'm happy to talk to you guys about the LT. As you know, it's a subset or sister or daughter camera of the original VariCam 35. What we've done is we've shrunken the price, we've shrunken the body, we've shrunken the weight, and we still kept the same performance. So we're still using the same imager set, we're still doing Super 35. It's a full 4K, big chip with lots of dynamic range. So we're looking at 14 plus stops of dynamic range, and we're looking at the ability to acquire at one frame all the way up to 240 frames a second in this camera.
So what's the resolution from, say, up to 240 frames per second?
Okay. So at 240 frames a second, we've done a reduced resolution. We're doing a cropped version. But if you go from, let's say, one frame to 120 frames, we're looking at full 4096 4K.
What can you tell us about internal codecs?
So we have a couple of versions of internal codecs. We have ABC Intra, which will record on this card. So on the Express P2 card, which is a large card with great capabilities. So at 256 gigs, I'm going to record 90 minutes of 24 frame at about 320 megabits a second.
What can you tell us about the external recording options?
So on external recording on this camera, we don't treat it quite the same as we do with the VariCam, but what we have is we have the ability to take two outputs, the two HD outputs, and instead of them coming out in stock HD, they come out in 6 gig per unit raw. And then that raw signal goes to a convergent design or to an Atomos outboard recorder / monitor. That's coming in June. Not available right in this very moment.
Is that a paid upgrade, or is that?
No, it's a free upgrade. There's no additions.
Tell me a little bit about this dual ISO situation that you guys have going on.
The imager is a custom imager that Panasonic designed expressly for this application. So when we talk about having dual native ISO, that dual native ISO is either one of two things. 800, more conventional kind of mentality in terms of exposure index, or 5000. We literally switch the output of the photo site to a 5000 or an 800. We don't do any gain manipulation or anything like that, any oddities in the camera. So that buys me 2.5 stops of sensitivity with a very minor penalty of some additional noise. So price point, we're looking at a full camera package, as you see it here, is about $28K with cards, with PL mount adapter, with shoulder mount, with monitoring, with all of the accessories I can add to it, $28K list price. Body alone, $18K. Okay. Viewfinder alone, $6K. There's also a couple other manufacturers, third-party manufacturers, who have viewfinders that work directly with this camera because it's just simply power and a BNC, and I'm good to go on my viewfinder.
Can you tell us anything else that I guess differentiates this camera from other competitors in the space?
So, competitors? So one of the things that we've had for a long time with VariCam is we've had a look. Okay, so VariCam look. It took us about a year for people to look at the camera and go, that looks like film. It's only 720p. It still looks like film. We love it. And we sold a lot of cameras as soon as that got noted. That kind of color science, that kind of color rendition that we do in our cameras carries through to this camera. Carries through to the VariCam 35, carries through to the VariCam LT. And so we have a beautiful look.
Question about, is there onboard LUT support?
So we have onboard LUT. In this camera we can design files, we can build them in directly, or we can build them externally and bring them in as an external LUT. So we have lots of options for designing a particular look. So if I'm doing compositing work, I'm doing green screen work, I'm doing mostly exterior work, and I can design that look to just where I want it. And speaking of looks, there's an IR, removable IR filter in this camera. So I take off the lens mount, I go in, 3 little screws, I remove the IR filter, and now I'm able to put in a clear filter, and then I can get some pretty wild effects without having any IR filtration.
So that's great, so the user can change that filter out themselves?
Yes, a user can change that out. It's just a 10-minute job and you're done.
I saw you talking earlier about the ability to record to proxy files, so you could record your raw media as well as go into a tiny little proxy for editing.
Recording big, what I call big chip, big card. So big card, I'm recording my full bandwidth big signal on. So little card, any conventional SD card will work. I can record a 6 megabit proxy file. So I could be recording vlog on this, but Rec 709 on this. With window burn, I hand this off to my producer. He's now got the full day content. Same thing as I got in here, only smaller, lesser bandwidth.
Can you tell us about this EVF at all? I know I've seen a lot of people talking about it being a big addition to the camera, whether or not they want to spend the extra to get the EVF.
So the question becomes, why is our EVF so expensive? Just like, why is our card so expensive? Because we take a lot of pride and care in designing these things so they're super reliable, as good as they can get. I mean, you're highly critical of your viewfinder because that's what's determining not only framing, but more importantly, focusing. And I gotta nail my focus in 4K. I can't, there's no excuse. There are other options. A couple other companies like Zacuto, for example, they make a viewfinder that'll fit on this camera. And I'm sure we'll see at the show other companies doing the same sort of thing. So you have that option. That's why we broke the camera down into basic body, separate viewfinder, separate grip, separate shoulder mount, separate everything.
Seems like a very sturdy camera. This is very beefy. Seems like it's made very heavily. How much does this weigh?
So you notice that. So this camera, when you feel the way this camera fits in your hand and just the balance of it, everything seems like it's well natured inside. There's nothing that's listing one way or another, and it feels solid, and it is solid. There's only a couple little plastic parts. I have a little plastic door here for a Wi-Fi transmitter. I have a little bit of plastic up top for my GPS receiver. Other than that, it's absolutely solid metal. I could throw this thing down on the floor and it's still going to work.